Hello, YouTubers. So I'm gonna wait for some people to arrive. I wanted to talk a little bit about wolves and sheep's clothing. This is a Seven Sorrows Rosary. Isn't that nice? So with wolves and sheep's clothing, we have to be aware when our ears start to feel happy or getting tickled with a little feather. And we're liking that. You know, I don't know who is here. Oh, process. I saw a video, and this person, I believe, was saying something that was straight from hell, straight from the mouth of Satan. He was saying, nowhere in the Bible or anywhere are we instructed to forgive those that do not ask for forgiveness. So yes, we're instructed to forgive, but only those that ask for forgiveness. All you have to do is go to the Lord's Prayer. Forgive us our sins, forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. It doesn't say, forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive the trespasses of those who ask for forgiveness. Right? It says, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And so I think that's totally wrong, because then you would be carrying around a lot of negative energy and unforgiveness for others, and you would have a lot of others carrying around negativity towards you and unforgiveness towards you. Forgiveness is as much for ourselves as it is for the other individual. We want to be free and light. And yet if you're carrying a grudge and you're thinking, I'll never forgive that person unless they bow down before me and they beg my forgiveness, that's not the spirit of the Lord's Prayer. That's not the spirit of Christianity. And that's not the spirit of a wise man that wants to be light on his feet and to be able to walk in the Spirit. What we want is we want to be able to have no unforgiveness, no ill will, no negativity coursing through our veins. And because, think about it, we've wronged people without even knowing it. So did we ask for forgiveness when we weren't even aware that we stepped on someone's toes, that we did someone wrong? We were paying attention to something over here, and yet we inadvertently stepped in front of someone or wronged someone to our side or slightly behind us. And so we wronged someone, but we weren't even really aware of it. And so did we say, excuse me? Did we say, please forgive me? No. So other people can do that kind of thing to us, wrong us, without really intentionally trying to wrong us, but at the same time, they still wronged us. And so are we going to carry that for the rest of our lives? How stupid, how idiotic. So right when I saw this guy's video, I was like, Satan's working through that person. That's so wrong. That's so unchristian. Forgive everyone. Does that mean you have to sit down and dine with that person at a table every night? No. Does that mean you have to invite the person over to your house and hang out with them regularly? No. You know, you can forgive someone, but still kind of back up away from them, because we all know, especially people that have subscribed to my channel, is some people want to use you as a doormat. How often do you wipe your feet on your your doormat at least 2 or 3 times a day, right? And you scrub the dirt off your feet onto that doormat. We do that intentionally to the doormat. We use it to put dirt on it. Do we want to subject ourselves to that over and over and over when we see that this person has an agenda and is using us as a garden tool? No. So we can back up away, we can pray for them, we can realize that, they targeted us. Maybe they only target 1 out of every 50 people, but for some reason they targeted us. So are we going to be able to change that? No. I was just reading an old video I made 4 years ago on my old channel, Simply Biking, and Chuck, one of my best subscribers, right along with Process, said something to the effect of, I was meeting with a therapist, and he said, Chuck, I hope you don't mind me sharing this. You put it in a video, in a comment, so you were open about it. The therapist said, to him that we can never expect people to change, ever. And that changed his life, he said in the comment. We really can never expect people to change. And we can never have any hope that we can affect a huge change in their virtues or their behavior towards us. The only thing we have control over is how we react to that person. And sometimes these people are purposely triggering you, really, really intentionally. And they might be family or old friends that know your buttons really, really well. And so they're constantly pushing the most sensitive areas, trying to get you to trigger. When I used to complain about my mom, about my sister-in-law, I would frequently say, sometimes I let her get to me. And she'd say, why? Why do you let her get to you like that? And I'd say, because I see how hard she's trying to get to me. She's pushing all of the buttons that she knows are my most sensitive. So the main thing that upsets me and gets me riled up inside is that I know how hard she's working to upset me. And I see her diligence, how the whole time, whenever I visit, the whole 2.5, 3 hours I'm there, it's like laser beam focus. I'm trying to get under my skin, trying to upset me. And that's what upsets me, is that this woman's whole being, every cell in her entire body is completely laser beam focused on one thing, and that's to get me upset. And I used to literally run from her all over the party, and she would just follow me around, just trying to irritate me nonstop. And that was what would get me upset. And so what could I do with a person like that? What could you do? What could anyone do? You have to remove yourself from their presence. Do I hold a grudge towards her? No. She's a confused, toxic person. Can I hope that she betters herself? Absolutely. Can I pray for her? Yes, and I do. So let me read a few comments. Demons work through people. Yeah, Ephesians 6:12. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, dark forces in high places. And that, oh man, thank you for mentioning that. What a powerful, powerful revelation that is. When you really, really let Ephesians speak to you. You don't ever want to argue with someone ever again. It's like, why do I want to lose my peace? And why do I want to give this person what they're trying to get out of me, which is a tit for tat, a back and forth, where I get angry, and then even after I leave this person, I'm ruminating for an hour or two, thinking, I should have said this, and why did she say that, and da-da-da-da-da. It's a waste of time. Basically, when you see say something very negative towards you, you kind of just learn to pause and kind of look at them and think, where did that come from? Is there an agenda? What did that person hope to achieve by saying that? Could this be a familiar spirit working through this person? Because if you come from toxic bloodlines like myself, you have so many familiar spirits that not only do they know you from the moment you were born and have studied you, every like you have, every dislike you have, but they know where you got those likes because they were handed down to you from their parents. They've studied your parents from the moment they were born and your grandparents. And so they know your lineage. They know you so much better than you know yourself. Then they can point at you and say, see, I told you he was an angry person. Yeah, reactive abuse is terrible. I got sucked into reactive abuse just very recently, 3 days ago. And it was because I'm getting abused by certain people, and a figure of authority stepped to me and pointed the finger at me when I'm getting abused by two individuals that I am forced to have to be around. And I lost my peace a little bit. I raised my voice and I kind of tried to defend myself. It's a very, very frustrating situation when you're being abused and then you get attacked for how you're being abused. You get false accusations thrown against you. And even me being 6 years trying to study this, trying to study the word every day and become a better person and pray a lot, I still was sucked into that reactive abuse, because sometimes you feel like you do have to kind of stand your ground and say, no, 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 that's not how it went. Let me explain, throw rocks and hide their hands, right? Yeah. Whoo, whoo, whoo. Wasn't me. As you've got big welts in the back of your head and you're churning around looking who threw those rocks. There's only one person sitting there, and they're like, well, I saw the rocks fly over my head, but there's no one behind. uh, but, I started off this topic on wolves in sheep's clothing. And it was ever since I lost my peace a little bit, feeling I had to defend myself, and I experienced that reactive abuse where I now have been exhausted. You prayer warriors, if you like my content at all, please consider saying some prayers for me. I had 2 naps today. This is going on the 3rd day of feeling a complete exhaustion, and I'm not able to read my Bible as much, pray as much, to do as much as I like during the day. And then, I tried to start working out, but my old hernia starts frustrating me, and it gets really, really sore. And even after I stop working out, I'll go like 3 days where it's still hurting. So it's like I can't work out at all. That sucks. But at Mass today, it felt like we were doing yoga. Me and this guy next to me, this friend of mine, we're, at a Catholic Mass, you get down at your knees so much. And the older you get, it takes a little bit of effort. We don't have any pews in this church. So it takes a little bit more effort to get down on your knees and then stand back up and then sit down and then get on your knees and stand up. Being this gentleman next to me, it's like, this is why Christians or Catholics don't need yoga, because at the Catholic Mass we're doing so much on the knees. Let me see. I got written up and put on a process improvement for a process. Put on a process improvement for a process. I was not authorized to change. I didn't defend myself and got 6-week severance. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that, brother. But I don't know, Rain, if you're a male or female. But yeah, but hey, at least you demonstrated to yourself that you have that much control. So I'd like to applaud you for that, right? To not get sucked into that reactive abuse. Because basically what you're doing there by not being sucked into that reactive abuse is you're leaving that problem at the foot of the cross. You're saying to Jesus, I don't need to fight these secular battles. You know, I can calmly, even explaining yourself is wrong sometimes, because sometimes these toxic people, they want to corner you and force you to explain yourself, and they'll do it again and again until you're like, find yourself explaining the exact same thing for the third time in 15 minutes. And it's like, wait a second, you know, there was an old, I think it was a Johnny Cash song that said, as long as I'm alive, I'm never going to use the breath in my lungs to repeat myself, to have to say the same thing that I already said. You know, life's too short to have to keep explaining the same thing over and over and over. And that's what narcissists love to do. They love to try to get you to where you start to feel like you're going nuts. It's like, wait, haven't I just explained this 5 times in the last hour? And you're forcing me to explain it again? And you can see how I'm getting frustrated even acting it out. Second time at the rodeo, first time in life, I got illegal aid attorney and won unemployment. This time around, I just put my energy into finding a new job. Wonderful. Good. Yeah, we have to save our energy, we have to keep our peace. But in this day and age, believe me, more and more wolves in sheep's clothing. I had to concentrate because sometimes I start to say sheep in wolf's clothing. Well, that's how a lot of people with a false persona are, right? They're little timid sheep inside, all insecure, but they try to put on the robe of a big, strong, intimidating wolf, right? So there is both. The narcissist is a sheep in wolf's clothing. A narcissist is the biggest coward that they are. That's why they take on the false persona. Narcissist has the persona of confidence, but they're the most insecure person you'd ever want to meet. And they always point the finger at their target and say, you're too sensitive. When they're the most sensitive person in the world. You can barely say anything to this individual without them saying, was that intended for me? Or what did you mean by that? You know, my brother used to run around at the family party, and the main, almost the only thing he would say when he would approach a new group of people, he'd try to make it a joke, but whenever he'd approach a group of like 3 people or more talking, he'd say, what are you talking about, me? And he'd try to make it a joke, but that's his real sentiment. That's his real mindset is anyone talking about me? That's why he'd have to run around jumping from group to group to make sure people weren't gossiping about him, because it's so bizarre, but they think everyone is as toxic and insecure as they are. So when a toxic person tells you you're too sensitive, just know that's projection, and that they know that they are the most sensitive person in the world. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. My battles are fought for me, not by me. Yeah, that I really started respecting that vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, long before I came back to the Lord. You know, because going after someone that's low vibration and trying to seek revenge takes you down to their level. There's that old adage, you know, if you get bit by a venomous snake, you've only got so much time to get anti-venom and to start the healing process. Are you going to run around the room trying to find that venomous snake? Because by trying to find that venomous snake, one, you're wasting time and energy chasing after that snake. And 2, you're now pumping more blood quicker through your veins because you're running around. Physical activity, right? Increases the heart rate, increases the blood flow to the muscles carrying the oxygen. So now you're spreading that venom all over your body quicker. Instead, immediately sit down, forget about the snake, and start the healing process. Call 911, get the ambulance there, the anti-venom will come shortly thereafter, and you saved your life because you focused on yourself. Whereas if you focus on the snake, getting the snake, chopping its head off, and going, ha ha, I gotcha. Well, I even the score. Who cares? One dead snake in the world. What does that matter? Right? So, yeah, anytime someone lands a blow and hurts us, the best thing is to just retreat, and heal, and then come out the next day a stronger, wiser man because you've learned from that. That's something that we really, really overlook with narcissists is how much they teach us, right? So if someone is going to land a blow, hurt our psychology, hurt our heart, the best thing is to say, let me retreat to my place of solace. Maybe it's my prayer closet, maybe it's my bed, and think about how did I open myself up for that blow? Because if you're like this, it's very easy to block those blows. But for some reason, I lowered my guard. What did I... Oh, he was complimenting. This person was flattering me. That's what happened. I lowered my guard. I started feeling good with the flattery. And then I opened up and I revealed something I shouldn't have. And then, bam, it was flipped and thrown against me in an attack. That's what it was. I know better than to trust this person. How did I get sucked into trusting that person where I know better? It was that flattery. Okay, valuable lesson. Let me think about this. Okay, tomorrow I have a meeting with that other person that I know I can't lower my guard with. So I'm going to be wiser, stronger. I'm going to see the flattery. If it starts coming my way, I'm going to start seeing whatever he might be doing to lower that guard that I have. So many people. I worked with so many black and brown individuals from the ghetto for 30 years, basically, if you count my internship. And fancy two-step and with their guard down. I heard it once before, but then I also heard it on $1 Million Bogan. He's a really, really funny Harley rider from Australia. He loves to do these tours in the U.S. He's done some in Mexico and Peru. And he was suicidal a few times. And he's a real success story. You should check him out if I have any motorcycle riders on here. He loves to ride his Harleys all over the... And he's a really funny guy. But actually, I think he's a narcissist as well. Narcissists, you have to feel bad for them. It's a terrible, terrible way to go through life. Being extremely anxious, always trying to read the social landscape, trying to read the room, always thinking, gassing on me, who's plotting against me, who do I need to go up to and impress, who's looking under the mask? Is my mask applied properly? Am I coming off good? The amount of time they spend practicing their fake looks in the mirror, the amount of time they spend deciding what they're going to wear before they go outside, instead of just always feeling comfortable in your own skin. Feel very, very sorry for them. It's a sad, sad existence. And it was thrust upon them. Yes, at the age of 7, they could have chosen to be am I going to be the hammer or the nail? Am I going to be the one, like my mother, that is always dominant? And yes, she's aggressive and somewhat cruel, but at least she's the one hurting people. Or am I going to be like my uncle, that's always getting stepped upon, ridiculed, and mocked at family parties? Well, I choose to be like my mother. So it's kind of understanding how at the age of reason they made that choice to be like their abusive mother or their abusive father, as opposed to the targeted parent that was our targeted uncle that was always, you saw him get low and saw him get dejected because he got put down again and laughed about by the whole narcissistic family cult. Um, so you can kind of understand how a little tiny 7 year old would choose to be, and especially it's the kids that are spoiled. The kids that are spoiled, and especially the one that's given the title, the privileged title of golden child. So if they're spoiled rotten and they're given that privileged title, they almost, it's very, very hard for them to be empathetic and to be more of, an empath and someone that's loving and forgiving. So I'm down to 4. I got 4 people. We just got one back. And I got 4 likes. That's 100%. Thanks, guys. So let me know, what would you like to talk about? I talked a little bit about sheep, but I want to go back to that because with AI now, it's really, really scary. You see, what's going on with technology is that we're becoming more and more dependent upon it. And it's going to reach a point where we can't do without it, to where we don't even know how to function. And then comes more compliance. I do believe that the COVID vaccine was a test run to see how compliant it would be. And I was in Los Angeles and we were on lockdown. They actually noted calling on your neighbor if they're leaving the house more than like twice a week for like groceries or whatever. So they were trying to see if they could not only comply with getting the vaccine, but with also staying at home alone and reporting on those that were being non-compliant. So technology, AI, people start to get pumped up and feeling like they're so powerful because it can write the perfect essay for them. This AI can write the perfect email, and becoming more and more reliant until like Neuralink is now offered. And then everyone's becoming like superhuman. Their brains are now immediately tapped into Google search. So any thought they have, they're just like a genius. Well, how am I going to get left behind and be like mentally retarded compared to all of these people with Neuralink? So it's going to come to a point to where the only way you can fit in with society is if you comply with the level of technology that everyone else is getting. Already, when I go grocery shopping, I can't get any of the discounts simply because I refuse to get the Safeway app. It's the Safeway grocery store. And so, you got to question, why is it they're making it that you can't get any fast food discount, you can't get any fast food, any grocery store discount without getting the app? How come whenever I go anywhere, they want me to make a reservation, or they want me to purchase it through technology before I get there? It's piecemeal. They're making us more and more and more and more reliant on technology, so that when it comes to accepting something like, I almost hate to say it because it's talked about so much to get more views and whatever, but Mark of the Beast, or the 2 or 3 things that are going to lead right up to that, so that non-compliance would literally separate you from society. I think separate now. I refuse to even have a laptop or an iPad. Yes, it's more difficult. I only have my phone, but when it comes time, I can throw this phone in the river and I'm done. I'll have my 22 rifle, a couple sidearms. I'll be living in a mud shack in the mountains with my own little vegetable farm and shooting some hares and jackrabbits, and with my Bible and my rosary and hoping for the best. The Lord's either going to sustain me. He either took me that far and he's going to continue me because he needs me, or he's going to let me pass on and I get to go to the pearly gates. But we have to almost think like that, where I am not going to go along with the agenda. I am not going to always comply in order to always have the new trends to fit into society and to just keep this going. Look around at all the people riding around in their convertibles, going to the beach, laughing and joking with their friends, going to rock concerts. It's like they don't know that there's this agenda going on. They don't seem to know that Bill Gates has been forcing us to eat, wanting us to eat bugs, and now he made this new fake butter. And there's just, that guy is not looking out for the best of interest. And there's a lot of people, you know. Elon Musk is like got his own GPT chat, AI. He's got these fully robots, real interactive AI robots walking around. In Japan, I think, or in Asia, you can buy them to have as a girlfriend and they can have sex with you. That's happening in the current day. We gotta be careful. We gotta watch in the end times for the wolves in sheep's clothing. You can see it on videos. You can see people that are misrepresenting scripture. You can see people that are misrepresenting an agenda. Revelation says, will neither be able to buy or sell without the mark. Yeah, and then what's going to happen if you can't buy or sell? There's going to have to be grouping up. In times in the history of this world, in the past, churches have had to go underground. Until like 1340, it was just the Catholic Church. So most of these situations were Catholics that the priests had to have mass underground. Not literally underground, well, maybe sometimes, but mainly in people's houses, or in barns. And they'd have to keep moving so that they couldn't be found out. So if we ever get to that, we're going to have to live in small groups, and we're going to have some connection with someone that can buy for us, possibly some farming. I mean, it's really a waste of time to think about, because basically if you got all your trust in the Lord, like I've never been a prepper. I've had several people I know, even a couple friends, that were really into prepping. And I refuse to do that because, like I said before, if the Lord's brought me this far, He wants to use me to serve His kingdom, right? Anything that He does in us is to glorify Him. We're just a vessel. And so if we've been obedient enough, He's going to sustain us one way or another, because He knows our faith, our trust, and our obedience is completely with Him. And so He's going to sustain us. There's been several saints that survived for 20, 30, 40 years or more off of one little Eucharistic host a day. It's a wafer of unleavened bread that has maybe 2 calories in it. And they could survive every day for decades off just one of those per day. So the Lord could even keep you alive with zero food for 30 or 40 years if He so desired. I mean, we're talking about God. God is God all by Himself. He can break His own rules, right? Because there's like laws of physics, our biology, right? How did He keep these people alive for 30 or 40 years with no food? Simply by His will. He can blink an eye and make a miracle like that happen. So I haven't really even been keeping track on how many people I have. Let's see, I've been going 35 minutes. That's pretty cool. I am starting to hear my voice go a little bit weak. I've got this, maybe I shouldn't say what it is, but I got this health problem. And I noticed drinking lots and lots of water really, really seems to help. That's like Charlie Kirk's character on South Park. They have him constantly unscrewing the top of the bottle and chugging his water and then screwing the top back on. As soon as he sets it down, in South Park, he picks it up again and Puts it down, and Charlie Kirk's like, "You nailed me on that with the water. Got to stay hydrated." Hey, Bucky and Chet, long time no see, brother. How are you? Welcome back. So, maybe I have some people watching now that weren't watching earlier. And, I need some prayers because I'm going on the third day with exhaustion. And I actually had to take 2 naps today. So, starting tomorrow, I'm going to fast. I'm only going to have 1 meal a day, and it's only going to consist of vegetables and canned tuna. It's good though. I mean, don't feel sorry for me. I put in a bunch of different vegetables like bell peppers, tomatoes, red onions, cucumber, all on top of spinach, and then I'll mix up the tuna with nothing but its own water. Instead of pouring the tuna out of the water out of the can of tuna like we've always done, so that it's drier and accepts the mayonnaise better. Instead, just keep the water, just empty both the water and the tuna in a bowl. Stir the water into it because that water is full of healthy omegas 3, 6, and 9 and other minerals and vitamins. So don't pour it down the drain or even give it to your dog. You keep it, mix it into the meat, and then you don't even need the mayonnaise. And then I put that can of tuna in with the spinach and all those vegetables, and I'll put olive oil over it and some apple cider vinegar. So healthy, so lightweight, and you get your protein, you get those omegas, you get all these great vitamins and minerals and all of those vegetables. Um, yeah, so hopefully that'll help with my exhaustion that's going on. I'm glad to hear that, Buck and Chet. So where are we? Can you guys believe? Do you guys think time is speeding up? Because I can't believe we're in the eighth month of the year. It seemed like just yesterday we were talking about Trump being in office 30 days, and then like 1 week later it was like 60 days, and now all of a sudden Trump's been in office for almost 8 months. We're going to be in the ninth month of the year relatively soon. This year, we're going to be in 26 before we know it. I saw this guy, he made a whole video saying that time is speeding up. And I kind of feel that way myself. That's kind of strange. Does it feel like we're in a matrix? Does anyone kind of feel like that? Every now and then glitches in the matrix? Yeah, it does. I agree. It feels like time is speeding up. I went from like February 1st to August 12th, just like that. It's like, wow, what happened? Any other subjects you guys want to talk about? I love Bing Crosby away in the major when he says, I love the Lord Jesus, look down from the sky and stay by my cradle till morning is nigh. Did you guys grow up? I'm older, I'm 58. Did any of you guys grow up at Christmas time hearing those Christmas songs? Nat King Cole? Wow. Bing Crosby? Good memories. I love the Christmas tree. Sometimes we get a frocked Christmas tree, bringing out the same Christmas ornaments every year. They became such a part of me. Truly, something is out of sync. I kind of felt like I know no one knows when the real end is gonna come and the second coming of Christ is gonna come. I'm Catholic, so we believe the rapture and the second coming is basically the same thing. So we don't think, this the rapture's going to happen and then like 7 years later the second coming's going to come. But I kind of felt like Jesus was 33 when he died, and 3 is such a significant number. And that's 8 years from now. It kind of seems like we're on par for like something significant, really, really significant to happen around that time. And then this AI, he got in a conversation about Revelation and Mark of the Beast and all this stuff. And he asked AI when was it going to happen. It said 2032, which would make sense for the second coming to be in 2033. But I'm not predicting anything. I don't want to get anyone upset saying no man know the time. But it's at all the same. It's kind of like fun to wonder: is it tomorrow, next year, 10 years from now? Because I think when the pandemic happened, everyone was kind of thinking, everyone on the internet, especially like non-denominational Christians and born-again Christians, saying, I've had this dream, the rapture's happening within a year, it's going to happen. I'm older than you. I remember everything you were speaking about. Growing up in the 70s was so cool. We basically, as little kids, like, wandered the streets in herds, in groups, and we settled our own problems. We'd even get in fistfights and iron it out ourselves and not involve any parents. The cousins were all just kicked out of the house when like the adults, the aunts and uncles would get together. Like, stay outside with no toys or anything, and we'd climb a tree. How many kids these days climb a tree? And we'd have like full on discussions with like kids ranging in age from like 5 or 6 up to 12. You looked up to your older cousins so much. If you were like a 6-year-old and you were forced to hang around this 12-year-old cousin so much, he was like a mini adult to you. Oh man, the 70s, even the TV shows, I loved them. And just like I always had scabs on my elbows. I was a skateboarder, just wandering the streets in skateboards and throwing rocks at things. It was wonderful. Me and my brother, we were known as the Brown Brothers in our neighborhood. And believe me, that was not a term of endearment. I was like, there goes the Brown Brothers. Yes, the street lights were our signal to go home and eat. Yeah. Sometimes, though, we would play like tag out front and just know that, all mom would have to do is open the door and say, come in. So sometimes we wouldn't go in when the streetlights came on because we were just right out front. But definitely, if we were down the street, we would know our parents might worry if it got dark and we weren't like within earshot. But the streetlights, that was a popular thing to break because they were so strong. They were made out of really, really thick glass that you could hit it with a rock, even like a rock almost as big as a baseball. You know, I love my balls. Almost this big. And if it didn't hit it like square, straight on, it would ricochet off. So it would have to be a center shot, center mass. Aim for center mass. But life is good, You take the good, you take the bad, and then you have the facts of life. I watched too much TV as a kid. It was basically more of a parent to me. And when you come from dysfunctional families, you'd watch shows like Leave It to Beaver, Father Knows Best, and The Brady Bunch to kind of get a sense of what is a family supposed to be like. Because I know it's not this family that I'm a part of. What is a family supposed to be like? The courtship of Eddie's father. I literally watched that show so that I could see what it would be like to have a loving, caring father. The courtship of Betty's father. Yeah. Remember a family affair with the butler. I forget the butler's name, but he was like a father figure to those kids. He was so calm and kind and caring. When I started this video, I definitely did not think I would start talking about 70s TV. Well, all right, you guys, it's been 46 minutes, and we've hit a wide range of topics. Peace and love. I'm out. God bless you. Have a good day or good night.